With utmost determination, Anthony pushed his motorbike to its limits, racing against time. Skillfully navigating through traffic, he made daring swerves to meet the countdown. At long last, he arrived at the final delivery destination. "Enjoy your pizza, ma'am." Anthony warmly greeted the customer, expressing gratitude for the tip. He hurried back to his bike, quickly checking the time before subtly punching his fist in triumph. He had accomplished the delivery a full minute and a half ahead of the promised 30-minute mark. The pizza joint had stopped incentivizing on-time deliveries a long time back. Still, Anthony enjoyed the thrill of buzzing past the traffic. It possibly reminded him of his high school days, back when he got a taste of adventure with his brand new bike. 7 years later, Anthony still used the same motorbike and worked 3 jobs to make ends meet. He'd do 1 shift as a pizza delivery driver. Then he would rush to the public hospital where he worked as a part-time janitor on the night shift. He'd return home at around 3 a.m. and barely sleep for 3 hours. By 6:45 a.m., it was time to take the neighborhood dogs for their morning walks. If only I had finished school and gotten a proper job, Anthony would think almost every day. If I was educated enough, maybe I'd not have fallen into that multi-level marketing trap. Maybe I'd be building up to the American dream without all this debt. Anthony had weekly offs on Fridays at his pizza delivery job. That's when he would manage to restock groceries at home. At the store, he never browsed through the aisles or made impulse purchases. His grocery list was meticulously planned, such that he only bought what he needed, down to the last gram. On one such Friday of a particularly challenging month, he was able to afford only half of the things he usually needed. He picked up groceries quickly and paid in cash that he barely saved last month. After paying, all that was left in his pocket was $1 and a few cents. Anthony was a few steps away from his bike when he felt a nudge on his shoulder along with a frail voice. The old man's voice was followed by a repulsive stench. Anthony hesitated to turn back. He didn't want to ruin his one day off. He just wanted to get on his motorbike, go home, and get a well-deserved nap. Anthony took a couple of steps without looking back. "Please, son, I haven't eaten anything for the last 2 days," the man pleaded, barely completing his sentence without breaking down. Anthony turned around to look at the stranger. Before him stood a middle-aged man with a limp and tattered clothes. He had unkempt hair and a messy gray beard that barely showed any of his facial features. He was homeless. "I'm sorry, son. I wish I didn't inconvenience you by begging for food. But ever since I lost my health and my job, everything fell apart." Anthony started to feel sympathy for the man. "And to answer your question, that pound of bread will last me exactly 3 days. That's considering I procure some leftover meat from the trash can of the fast food joint around the block. So yup, 6 sandwiches for 3 days would be possible. I mean, I won't have to beg for another 3 days." The old man breezed past the last bit. Anthony's sympathy grew for the old man, but what caught his attention was how the man was engrossed in his calculations while he spoke. He leaned in to look closer at the man's face. He tried to hide his grin and made a snap decision. "Sir, I'm sorry. I won't be able to give you this loaf of bread, but I'd like to invite you to my home for a meal." The homeless man's eyes welled up as he was filled with gratitude. He accepted Anthony's invitation. Anthony put a few things together from his meager groceries and cooked a modest meal for both of them. They got talking. In the middle of the conversation, Anthony composed himself and asked, "How did you lose your job, sir?" "No way that's happening, sir." "So tell me, what happened?" Surprised by Anthony's response, Jonathan continued to tell this story. He shared that he was a math teacher at the local school downtown. Last year, he suffered a stroke and was paralyzed on the left side. He had to take a break from teaching to recover. He lost most of his money to medical bills. When he partially recovered, he realized that the school had moved on by hiring another teacher, a younger one. Jonathan wanted to sue the school for wrongful termination, but decided against it. He realized that he couldn't afford the legal fees. He was already in debt to the hospital. He had to sell his house to settle his debt and ended up on the streets. "I'm sorry, sir. I did not know you faced so many hardships in your life. Again, son, I request you not to call me sir. It reminds me of the time when kids called me that." And Jonathan was surprised. He said, "How'd you know my last name?" "I was one of your students, sir," Anthony said with tears in his eyes. Anthony Pope, one of the unruly ones in school. Jonathan took a moment, and suddenly, his eyes lit up. "Ah, Pope on the devil's bike? We all would joke about that. Wait, is that the same bike you got me here on? Jonathan asked, laughing. Yes, sir. Sadly, I never got better at school. I ultimately dropped out and have struggled ever since. Jonathan looked around Anthony's house. Well, don't beat yourself up, son. It's not over yet. I'd say you are one step ahead. Anthony looked confused. Impressed by the immaculate organization of Anthony's room despite his 3 jobs, Jonathan praised his discipline. Encouraged by Jonathan's words, Anthony decided to give education another chance and asked Jonathan to be his roommate and mentor. Jonathan, inspired by Anthony's determination, also transformed his life. He rekindled his passion for teaching and guided his former student on their journey. Over time, they lived like a family, supporting each other through thick and thin. A few years later, Anthony successfully graduated and landed a job at a law firm, breaking free from poverty with Jonathan's guidance and his own relentless hard work.